Welcome to another episode of the New Labor Movement Show. I'm one of your hosts, Troy.
I'm Ray.
And we're back again to go over labor law and politics. So let's jump right into it. This week, we took a field trip.
Yes, as a matter of fact, we did.
We want to highlight an agency that we spoke about before, but this time we went out to take a visit to give you guys an idea of what takes place on investigation for one of these companies. We tried to evaluate and see what their investigative skills are all about.
Well, yeah, we said, you know what, let's go to where the investigation would originate and see what would happen if they had to go into the field to investigate and to see what transpires in the middle that is so perhaps difficult.
Shine a light on them! 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 Shine a light on them!
Now, when did they start their investigation when it came to us?
So in 2017, I believe it was somewhere around June, where we actually had a case that was a hearing before the city council right here in Manhattan, not too far away in City Hall, a couple of blocks away.
That's when where all the guys came to, if
Correct.
I'm not mistaken. I think we had like a couple hundred guys there.
Right. They knew about the alleged violations before, but this is where they actually had a chance to sit down and talk to Spectrum about it. So after they sat down and spoke to them, Spectrum told them, "What are you talking about? We don't hire anybody from outside the city."
No, not us. Even though the union sent them probably a couple hundred pictures.
Yeah.
A couple hundred pictures, that guy doesn't work for us, that guy doesn't work for that guy. I mean, weren't there pictures of out-of-town license plates and out-of-town addresses on it?
Yeah, but like you said, you got to get due process of the law, give them a chance to investigate and check it out.
Gotcha.
So now that was what they were tasked to do, go and check it out. Now they asked them for the information, asked the Spectrum, also give us the information of where these guys are actually coming from. Are they out-of-town workers or they do actually work here in New York City?
Well, obviously if they're in town, you could give them a local address and could show up to the office and say, "Hey, who works here for Spectrum?"
Nice and easy. Shouldn't be too hard to get that information. If you got a company working for you, they haven't been working for you more than a couple of months, you should have their address right away.
I would imagine you have to have something on the side of the car that says, "This is where I work, this is what I do."
It shouldn't be no more than a phone call for Spectrum to call and say, "Hey, the guy that's working for us, give me the address."
Right.
You don't need 7 days, 30 days to supply the information.
Right. So how long did it actually take for DoIT to actually conduct this investigation?
Well, it was a big thing because they know we were waiting on it. That was something that could really hurt us if they had out-of-town workers. So as soon as they left that meeting, they sent somebody right out to those locations to check it out.
Why do I feel you're pulling my leg? De Blasio is in charge, in theory, of this DoIT,
Yes.
and yet we still didn't get a hearing right away, or an investigation.
Not right away. But you know what I thought of? It must have been the time it takes them to get from this location to the location where we...
Well, you and I work at the same location in College Point. I imagine that drive probably takes like 180 days. It's like 180 days, right?
I think that'll be about right.
All right, so, I got a crazy idea. What we should do is we should now drive from here to one of these, to our location at College Point, and the alleged area where the alleged address where these guys
You're a smart guy. These
guys supposedly worked from.
This should solve the entire problem.
I have a funny feeling we're going to uncover some unusual facts. We're not going to cheat them and say, "Look, we did it Saturday morning. We got here in 15 minutes." We're going to do it during work hours like they would.
So it's a Friday in New York City on a rainy day at about 2:48 p.m.
judge if you think this is a legit cable company.
I don't know how hard an investigation it took to get this done, but it only took us a quick
Hour
car
and 12
ride
minutes.
to get from Manhattan over here to check it out.
And anyone with a brain would have come here and realized that this was shady, not legit, and done a further investigation. But for whatever reason, Do It isn't so smart, or maybe they're just not so smart on purpose.
So I guess this was the best they could do.
You know, I have to admit, you know, you would think a government agency supported by a mayor who supposedly supports us, you would think they would have done a better job. It makes me wonder what was really going on, that they took so long and did such a lousy job.
Like I said, if your boss comes to you and tell you this file is important and puts it on your desk and have it done by the next day because people's lives depends on it, how long do you think it would be before he let stuff go where you could let that slide for 8 months if it was really that important?
I have nothing to add. I'm just disappointed, and I think it's willful negligence that they did this. They were dumb on purpose because they knew that if they squeezed us and squeezed us and squeezed us, that guys would fall to the side. They knew that in those early months that our pressure was making sure that the work didn't go out until they negotiated. As long as the work kept going out, we lost our leverage, and that's why I believe they dragged their feet, because they didn't want us to have the leverage. They wanted us to either to give in, or maybe even worse, didn't care.
Well, as you can see, our Crackerjack investigation team got this problem solved within 1 day. So if you need any lessons, do it. we are for hire right now. We're looking for work.
Do it. I'll be a consultant for a fair price.
Shine a light on them. 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 Shine a light on them.
So I guess the topic is, what are people's opinions of citizenship laws? Now, it's a common thread that people say that there is a problem with the laws in place for citizenship. If you ask me what are the laws for citizenship, I couldn't tell you, besides people come in, they're not citizens, and they're here, and that's it. Other than that, there is no real policy or law put in place to try to make people become citizens or have penalties for them if they are not citizens.
There's definitely
It doesn't seem like it.
Well, there's two ways you can become a citizenship. You can gain citizenship. You can either get it by birthright or naturalization. Birthright means you were born here.
Wait, those are the only two ways?
Yes, naturalization. What naturalization includes everything other than birthright. If you're born here, it's not even a law. It's been a custom that once you're born here, you're a citizen. It doesn't mean you have to be born of American parents. What you do is you're born on American soil, which of course is there's two parts of it. You have to be born in the jurisdiction of the United States, and the word jurisdiction and subject to the laws of there's a lot of wiggle room in there, which without going too much into the weeds.
Let me ask you a question.
Naturalization covers everything else, meaning you come here as an immigrant legally, and there's a process that you follow, which the Constitution does say that the Congress determines by what method you become a citizen.
What if you come here illegally?
Well, illegally, you are actually breaking the law.
Mm-hmm.
There is a federal law that says if you come in without the proper paperwork, for lack of a better word, you're breaking the law.
Now, is there any pathway forward for those people who came here illegally to become citizens?
Currently, no, and that is a good thing in my humble opinion, because what that does is, if you came here illegally, whether you took a plane, a train, an automobile, you walked across the desert, overstayed on a vacation, however you got here and overstayed your welcome one way or another, what you do, unfortunately, you put the people who have waited online, who've done it the right way, they've gone through background checks, they've waited, they paid, they filled out the forms, they paid the fees, and those guys, sometimes they wait years to get here. Just because you happen to stay here one day, I don't think the federal government or any government should reward you for that.
Okay.
And again, I'm not saying you're a bad person. I'm not saying that. What I am saying though is you are breaking the law.
Now, breaking the law or broken the law. But the question is now, so you have, let's just cut to the chase. What is it, 11 million people that they think are here illegally?
Anywhere between 11 and 20. They do it based on, I guess the most accurate way they do it is they base it on jury duty. Like when they send out the number, you have to join a jury. You have to do your civic duty.
They don't base
serve
it
on
on
a jury.
census?
What happens is, well, the census is one way, but the census is only done every 10 years. You can get a lot of times you can get a more accurate way by jury, because the first thing people will say is when they apply for jury duty is, well, I can't because I'm not a citizen. See, when you're a citizen, you get certain rights, you get certain duties,
Wait.
and you have certain privileges.
You saying that they find out how many illegal immigrants are in the U.S. by making people file for jury duty?
No. In other words, what they'll do is you have to file for, as a citizen, one of your duties is you have to do jury duty.
Right.
They send it out. We've all gotten them in the
But
mail.
no.
You're called for jury duty.
If you're a legal immigrant, how do they ever send it to you?
Well, what happens is they get just because you're an illegal immigrant doesn't mean you don't have, you don't pay a Con Ed bill. Doesn't mean that you don't work. There's a million ways they can get your address, your name and address, and they send it out
Wait,
that way.
You got me confused again.
Yes.
They ask illegal immigrants
No.
to serve on juries?
No, that's not what I'm saying. You're
Okay.
missing what I'm saying is they get your name and address of everyone who lives in a jurisdiction, and they ask you to serve on a jury eventually, once every 7 years. And what happens with that is one of the ways you can say I don't want to serve on this jury is I am not a citizen, therefore I do not have to.
Okay. All right. So
They find that's one of several ways that they find out whether or not what they think the illegal population is.
I don't know if I agree or mesh with your methodology for finding
Like
out.
I said, that's
for
one
finding
way.
them out yet. But here's the question I have. So let's go with the low estimate: 11 million of them.
Correct.
So there's 11 million, and you know they're there. Your thought is to take these 11 million people and move them out of the United States of America?
I would think moving 11 million people is unrealistic. I mean, in a perfect world, they should, because they broke the law, be deported. But actually getting 11 million people out of the country is such an enormous task and such a harsh way to deal with it. I think there are much better ways to deal with it.
Because that's the good question. My question is more, these people are already here and they're integrated and have become a part of our system and our economy. My thought as far as citizenship is, if you need to, the law that has been broken has already been broken, and it's been broken knowingly. It's not like these people have come here and it's not a part of the system put in place that was broken, you ask me, purposely, in order to have these people come here and be able to work for either, whether it's cheap labor or whatever. They provided a need that needs to be filled, and they allowed it to happen. That said, it's already happened. Now the question is, what do you do with them now? My thought is, if they're already part of a system and integrated, put a plan in place where either you're going to find a way for a path forward to become full citizens, or find a way to either have them vetted and then sent back and deported. It has to be one or another. It can't be left in a limbo where you're not doing anything in either direction and not setting any type of citizenship standards. My thought about it is, people really don't care about trying to do anything to move towards that goal. It's basically, they're not us, so send them home. And it's not a practical answer.
All right, I'll disagree on that. I think there's a couple of definitely things you could do other than, it doesn't have to be either or. Mm-hmm. I personally do not believe that anyone who jumped a line or came here illegally, I don't think they deserve citizenship under really any circumstances, unless they serve in the military. I would think if you serve in the military, you've served this country, you should be able to do what you have to do, become a citizen. I think a better way of dealing with it is, yes, I think that if you are here illegally and they catch you with a crime, you should be automatically deported. No questions asked.
I don't know if anybody disagrees with that.
I'm just saying that's one.
That's one.
I think the other way is you deal with, and how citizenship affects the union is you go after the employer. I believe you should set up something where if an employer gets caught hiring people who are here illegally, they should be heavily fined.
But this is my problem, because I agree with that totally. But my thing is that never happens. And not only does it not happen, the people who complain the most about people being here illegally seem not to really care about that not happening. They're more concerned with the fact that these people are here, and the thing with it being illegal, yes, it's illegal 100%. So is having a speeding ticket. But nobody says because you had a speeding ticket 40 years ago, you should never be able to move forward in this country again. So the question is deciding, like you said, 11 million people already here, intrinsically hard to try to remove them. So they're here and they're already here. The people who've here in all this amount of time and have been, for more or less, law-abiding uncitizens, find a way to integrate them into society, and then you have to also strengthen the borders to make sure that it's not continuously happen. What's happened is done. I don't see as you have committed this crime from all this time ago, and now we have to give you penance for it, as opposed to just fixing what's already done in the best way possible. And if removing 11 million people is the hardest way to do it, then just start thinking of another way instead of keep beating a dead horse.
Well, I think what people want to do is the prevailing thought is, what your first thing you have to do is find a way to secure the border in a sensible but strict manner. So that way, because if you all of a sudden you tell everyone, hey, you're here, you're going to get some reward for being here, you're going to create an incentive for more people to come and try to get over here.
Correct.
So I think you have to de-incentivize coming here. Do you de-incentivize people from coming here by having stricter laws? Like, if we catch you coming over the border here or in the country, we're going to be harsh with you. And you make anyone who hires them pay a severe penalty, because if the people come here for the main reason they come here is
Money.
for money.
Money.
Obviously, money. If you work for somebody illegally and they get caught and they have to pay a $25,000 fine, the odds of them hiring something illegally again goes down. Once the word gets out that, listen, no, they're not going to hire us even if we show up, is going to reduce the incentive. So the best way, you have to have people self-deport.
So you know what makes me think that it's more about demonizing than actually fixing the problem? If they really wanted to fix the problem, like you said, if you have somebody that's on drugs and you basically take the drugs away from them, all they're going to do is go buy more. So you cut off the supply. If you have people coming here because they're looking for work or looking for jobs, and you have employers willing to employ them and put them to work because they can pay them less or whatever reason, and then you go and arrest the person using the drugs, all you're going to do is have somebody else coming to fill that need. If you arrest the supplier and you tell the employer and you go harsh on them, then you cut off the reason that they come here in the first place and stop it. If they really wanted to do something, that's who they would go after, the employer. But you look at the other day, I was looking at an ICE raid where they went and rounded up, I think it was 700 people from, it was a meat packing factory. They took everybody around them, took them to jail. You saw the kids crying on the news, everybody's sad, but you see nothing at all happening to the employers who are supplying them, basically.
I wouldn't say demonizing someone. I think that's a bit harsh. I think someone who wants other people. I think someone who wants to enforce the laws of the country. I think that's always a good idea. I think you could have. I think you need to, go after both sides. I think going after only one side of the coin is lazy. I think there's a way. I think you should definitely find a way to stop people from coming here. But I think you should also find a way to have people stop hiring them. And I know most people get they only focus on the illegal alien because, the illegal alien, I think more directly hurts the American citizen more directly. The United States has limited resources. They come and they're allowed to have school, they use emergency rooms that they're technically not entitled to. And I know that sounds mean and horrible of me, but I want to live in a country that puts Americans first. And I always put Americans first. And I can't do that if I'm not going to enforce the rules.
Now, I have another side to that because and I hear this topic sometimes when they say basically they come and they welch off of what we contribute to. The fact is that people that come here illegally are not allowed to use what are called, I guess, the safety net society. And they're not able to come here and collect welfare. They're not able to come here and use government programs as if they were citizens. But at the same,
that's inaccurate. Federally, they do not qualify, but most states do give them
But that would be a state by state. Okay, so let's keep it federally because we're talking about if it's to the
Correct.
entire U.S. But at the same time, what they do contribute to federally is they're working, they pay taxes, they're contributing to things that they're never going to be able to get back from. So in that sense, they are contributing, but they're contributing to something that they're never going to get back from.
No, but yet think about it. They come from places where obviously they're coming here, so they think it's better here than where they came from, and you get a free education. The Supreme Court says that anyone between the age of, I think it's 6 and 21 is entitled to an education, irregardless of status, right? They use emergency rooms, they use public transportation, and yes, they do contribute to Social Security, but unfortunately, people don't want to hear this, but illegal immigrants commit crimes at a much higher rate than legal immigrants and natural-born citizens. So if you take what they cost in medical and natural-born,
I call board.
well,
Where do you get where are your statistics that say illegal immigrants commit crimes at a higher rate?
really?
Really? I call board.
Please, someone in the comments.
We're gonna check that.
This is gonna be very. This is gonna be very easy to debunk. I mean, when I mean easy, I mean easy.
We're
And I
gonna
remember I
check that.
said illegal immigrants.
We're going to check that.
Because
We're
legal
gonna call
immigrants
board.
go through a background check. Actually, legal immigrants, people who are waiting green cards and have visas and all that, they actually commit crimes at a slightly less rate than natural-born Americans. Slightly, but illegals do generally at a higher rate, and it's significantly higher.
Okay, so we're going to look at that. We're going to
So between the court, between law enforcement, medical, and school, they actually are a net loss.
Now, you say the same thing. Those are the commons, things that are paid for through taxes, fire department, law enforcement, school. Like I said, if they're working and paying taxes, but they're paying taxes that they're not going to be able to benefit from. So what pays for schools and fire departments are taxes. So they are paying into that and contributing to what they're using, but it's just that they're never going to get back what they put into it. So
They
to me,
get
that's a
free
false
they
benefit.
get free education. They
Schools that they pay taxes into.
but that they're not entitled to.
What you mean they're not entitled to? They pay taxes into it. You're saying
Some of
like
the-
you're saying like they
let
freeloading
me-
and they getting something from us that they're not paying into.
Some are.
But if they're paying taxes,
Some are. In other words, I'm sure there's lots of illegals. And again, I'm sure they're all most of them, the vast majority are just coming here for a better life. But again, we have limited resources, and the resources should go to the people who are supposed to be here. And again, I'm not speaking ill of anyone. I'm not saying that they're bad people or anything like that. I'm just saying when you have limited resources, the limited resources should go to the people who are supposed to be here and the people who came here the right way. I don't believe in rewarding people for breaking the law. And that goes employee, employer. Not to mention, this is a union show. Anyone who lives in the 5 boroughs knows that illegals are one of the reasons, let me be clear, that the construction industry and the unionization of the city is going down. You go on a lot of these jobs and a lot of these trades, there's a lot of guys who are working here who shouldn't be here, who are lowering the wage or being used against union people.
now that's what I can agree with you is one of the hardest industries that are probably hit regarding illegal immigration is the construction industry.
I mean, think about it. You're a carpenter, and you get your prevailing wage, 35, 40, 42, whatever the prevailing wage is, and they can pay another guy, off the books, $15 an hour, and this person has come from a country where they don't, $15 an hour is 10 times what they made there. He's gladly going to take it. And now, how is the guy who's here supposed to compete against that? He
Now
can't.
but now this is the thing, because now we go through the same culprit of how do you solve that problem? You
There's-
can't remove all 11
No,
million.
yeah,
So
the-
if you go after the employer, and the employer is the one that is going after for hiring these illegal immigrants, and either that or take the illegal immigrants and collectively get them together where they can fight to push for a higher wage that's prevailing to everybody else is making, then that eliminates the problem there for them being able to hire cheaper labor. It's a simpler solution to the problem.
No one puts a gun to anyone's head in any of the other countries and says, you better go to the United States.
You're changing the
It's
subject.
a personal choice.
You're changing the subject.
No, I'm not.
We're talking about the problem of them being able to move down the work standard because they're working here, because they're coming here.
Well, first, it's basic economics. In other words, if you have more of something, it's worth less.
Right.
In other words, if you stop people from coming here, then there's less people to be here, which means the cost of labor will go up, which means the guy who's here already and the people who are here legally will make more money.
But then why hasn't that happened?
Why? Because they keep letting more and more and more and more people. They underfund the agencies. They underfund the agencies that are supposed to go around and check on these things.
Listen, for the past...
Not to mention the 5 boroughs, the mayor of our city won't even, in other words, when ICE comes and says, this guy is a criminal, we want to arrest him and deport him, he's dangerous, he's committed felonies, the city goes, nah, we don't really want to supply you with that. So what does that say to the person? He goes, listen, look what I did and I can stay here. Creates an incentive.
Bored, yo. That's false information again, and that's what I talk about when you say the demonizing. ICE would come here and say this person is a criminal, and
Correct.
we will not release him.
No.
Or this is a person we're looking for of interest.
No.
And we won't let you.
No,
It's
New York-
two different. It's two totally different scenarios.
Right now, guys, it's easy to check. Let Troy know he's wrong. That the mayor has directed the Department of Corrections and the NYPD not to do this, not to help.
Not to help give up people who are known criminals.
100%.
All right, so I call board. Let me see that too, because
Again,
have
the facts
to
are
be
on
able
my
to see that.
facts are on my side, America. Pardon me, New York. Facts are on my side.
We'll see, because
facts are on my side.
Because if there's anything that a law that's saying that somebody is a criminal and they're coming to deport them and that won't be allowed, I totally disagree with that as well.
It's not a law. What they're hiding behind the fact that they don't
It
want
would
to
be
do
a law.
the federal. They don't want local police to become an
if it's
an
law or not a
immigration
law,
force.
if they any way protecting somebody who's a known criminal, let me see that, because I don't agree with that.
100%.
But that alone does not throw out the rest of the entire argument.
Yeah, all right.
So exactly, I know this is a topic that's not going to be.
You know what? This is something that we're gonna have to do another segment on.
Many more segments on this, right? Because as far as emotions that people feel and drive off those emotions, as opposed to also including fact into it, and more than that, just trying to figure out how to solve the problem instead of just pointing it out over and over again and looking to just remove people just to solve a problem instead of coming up with some kind of real world solutions. I think that's what we all need to move towards.
In my mind, you can't be pro illegal immigration and pro union because those two things are diametrically opposed to each other.
Pro illegal immigration. I think I agree with that. I'm not sure.
I got you, Troy. Don't worry. You'll come to the dark side.
All right, so that's it for this week's episode. Anything else you want to add?
This one went quick. I'm not gonna lie to you. When we talk about something that we feel strongly about, and the episode goes like that.
It went quick for you. It was like painstakingly long.
Truth, justice, and the American way. No, seriously.
right.
I can see both sides of the issue.
All right, once again, I am Troy,
I'm still Ray.
and this is the New Labor Movement Show. Signing out. Till next week.
Boo, 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 boo.